My wife sent a cold message. Ceremony canceled. Await contact from my attorney. I serenely replied, as you desire. Then discreetly removed my name from our home loan application. Within 48 hours, her legal representative was frantic, demanding explanations. I recall the precise moment my existence turned upside down. I was standing in a supermarket queue, holding a basket filled with trivial items like frozen pasta and scented waste bags, when my mobile vibrated. I looked down and saw her name, Vanessa, my fiancée, the passion of my existence. Or so I believed. I opened the message nonchalantly, anticipating something about supper or the nuptial guest roster. Instead, I received a gut punch with 8 words: ceremony canceled, await contact from my attorney. That was all. No clarification, no sentiment, not even proper punctuation. Besides the full stop at the end, just an icy professional dismissal, as if I were a business agreement she decided to nullify. I stood there, immobilized. The cashier needed to call me twice to say it was my turn. I robotically paid for the purchases, drove home in quietness, and remained seated in the driveway for 15 minutes before even entering. I wasn't weeping. I wasn't shouting. I was hushed. The only words I returned to her were, "As you desire." I understood what that message truly signified. It wasn't just the ceremony that was terminated. It was her manner of saying, "Don't reach out. My attorney will manage everything." I was being cast aside, and she thought she possessed all the advantages. But she overlooked something quite significant. You see, Vanessa and I had recently signed initial papers to jointly request a home loan, a lovely townhouse in a newly constructed area outside Portland. She selected it. She furnished it in her imagination. She even informed her companions it was practically hers already. But nothing was completed. And more crucially, we weren't wedded yet, which meant I was still technically unattached. So before I even removed my jacket that evening, I opened my laptop, accessed the bank's mortgage portal, and withdrew my application. It required 3 clicks. Merely 3. And with that, the entire arrangement collapsed like a tower of playing cards. Now, I recognize what you're considering. Petty in the extreme? Perhaps. But after 2 years of constructing a life with her, after all the forfeitures I made, including rejecting a career opportunity in Boston so we could reside near her relatives, this wasn't merely about pettiness. It concerned dignity. Nevertheless, I didn't anticipate what occurred next. Less than 48 hours later, while I was consuming leftover pasta on my sofa, my phone chimed. Unknown caller. I allowed it to proceed to voicemail. A minute afterward, a message appeared. Greetings. This is Jennifer Davis, legal counsel for Ms. Vanessa Bennett. We urgently solicit a return call regarding your home loan withdrawal. As this action may constitute contractual violation or monetary interference, please contact us promptly. I chuckled. Urgently solicit, Suddenly her attorney was panicked. Not so icy and professional now, were they? I didn't return the call. Instead, I waited, and inevitably, more calls ensued. Electronic messages too, all with increasing desperation. They weren't expecting this. Vanessa, in her characteristic way, must have presumed I'd be devastated, perhaps even pleading. But I wasn't. I was finished. The following day, I received a call from a mutual acquaintance, Rachel. She sounded uncomfortable. Hey, did you actually withdraw from the house arrangement? Affirmative. Okay, because Vanessa's extremely upset. Apparently, she already ordered furnishings and told her parents they'd have a visitor's room. I nearly said, not my concern, but I restrained myself. I didn't want to appear heartless, even though, honestly, I could have. Rachel paused before adding, she said you were being vindictive, that you're doing this to chastise her. That made me laugh aloud. I wasn't chastising her. I was simply done acting the dupe. What Vanessa didn't know yet, and what nobody else knew either, was that I had begun to suspect something weeks before the separation. There were indications. Late-night messages from unrecognized numbers, work gatherings that seemed strangely scheduled, whispers behind secured doors. When I entered the room, I noticed. I simply didn't want to accept it. But now, with everything disintegrating, I felt like I was finally perceiving her clearly, and so I decided to stop reacting and start monitoring. Instead of replying to her attorney or attempting to salvage anything, I remained quiet. I let them spiral, let them wonder. Let them squirm. And in that silence, realities began to surface. 2 days later, I heard a knock on my apartment entrance. I wasn't expecting anyone. It was her father. I hadn't seen Mr. Bennett since we all dined together a month ago, when he gave a toast about how proud he was to welcome me into the family. Now he just looked exhausted and maybe slightly embarrassed. He didn't even greet me before blurting out, "What's happening with the house?" I crossed my arms and said, "I'm not purchasing a house with someone who informs me we're finished via message and sends her attorney to converse with me. Are you here as her delegate?" His gaze lowered. "No, I'm here because she won't tell us anything. 1 minute she's saying the ceremony's canceled, the next she's yelling about furniture invoices and credit checks. I just want to comprehend what's occurring." For a moment, I contemplated revealing everything to him, but I didn't. I just said, "She terminated it. I respected that. She can handle the repercussions." He nodded slowly, then muttered something like, "I told her not to do this," and departed. I watched him leave, and a peculiar calmness settled over me. But the narrative wasn't concluded, not even remotely, because what I didn't realize at the time was that Vanessa hadn't just surprised me. She'd been scheming something calculated, and I was about to discover exactly why she really desired that house so intensely. The first genuine crack in the surface came from someone I hadn't spoken to in months, Vanessa's cousin Alex. We were never close, but we'd shared beverages at a few family events and bonded over both being outsiders in her tightly wound social circle. He messaged me unexpectedly. "Hey man, sorry about what happened. I didn't know how chaotic it was until now. Just wanted to say you dodged a projectile." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Appreciate it. What do you mean, though?" Alex's response was immediate. "I probably shouldn't reveal more. Just inquire about Thomas." The name didn't register initially. It was common enough. I'd met a few Thomases through her work events, maybe a couple at those dreadful weekend wine tastings she used to drag me to, but none stood out. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Something about the way Alex phrased it, brief, cautious, like he was testing dangerous waters, told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't just some name. Thomas was connected to the reason she called off the ceremony, and I had a fairly good notion what kind of connection that was. I went back and checked her social media. Most of her posts were private now, but one thing caught my attention: her list of tagged photos. There was one from a friend's engagement celebration a few weeks back, the same weekend she claimed she was ill and staying home. She wasn't in the photo, but Thomas was. Arm wrapped around her waist. Near. Intimate. My stomach churned. So while I was sitting on the couch microwaving soup and making final decisions on kitchen tiles, she was posing with some individual behind my back and feigning illness. That's when I stopped feeling injured and started feeling something else. Focused. I didn't just want out. I wanted clean severance. No connections, no debts, no traces left behind. First, I contacted the mortgage company directly and ensured my withdrawal was permanent. I also forwarded them a copy of her breakup message. They informed me unofficially that her attorney had already called twice attempting to get me re-added to the application. Too late. Then I did something I hadn't done since before our engagement. I called Marcus, my old university roommate and now a real estate attorney in Boston. He had offered me a position a year ago, which I declined because Vanessa insisted we establish roots near her family. I told him I was available again. He laughed and said, "It's about time." We scheduled a video call for Monday, and still not a word from Vanessa. That was her method. Never confront directly. Always through intermediaries, attorneys, friends, pressure. But I wasn't playing her game anymore. Or so I believed. It was Sunday morning when the next bombshell dropped. I woke up to 32 missed notifications. Messages, calls, emails. Not from her. From my financial institution. Apparently, an attempt had been made the night before to access our joint savings account, the one we opened specifically for ceremony expenses. I'd funded it with $10,000 from my own bonus. Money we agreed would be for catering and venue deposits. But the request was flagged as suspicious because the transaction attempted to transfer all of it to a private checking account under only her name. I called the bank immediately. They froze the account. And as I was on the phone with them, trying to understand what was happening, my email notified me of a new message. Subject: urgent. Regarding ceremony funds. It was from Jennifer Davis, her attorney, Mr. Wilson. My client is concerned about the funds held in the joint savings account for your now canceled ceremony. As she made several payments into this account, she believes she is entitled to reclaim a portion. That was a fabrication. She didn't contribute a cent to that account. I had documentation. Every deposit originated from me. She maintained her money separate for flexibility, she always claimed. But now that it was over, she wanted to rob me blind and call it equitable. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Marcus again. He said, "You've got documentation every dollar. Then you're secure. But let me tell you something, friend. If she's desperate enough to attempt that, she's not finished." And he was correct. That night, I received a voicemail from Vanessa herself. The first direct communication since her infamous message. Her voice was unsteady, emotional, almost like she wanted to sound broken. "Hey, I didn't want it to be like this. I panicked, okay? Things became complicated and I didn't know how to discuss it with you. Please don't think I was trying to harm you." I played it twice. Then I deleted it. No reply. Because here's the thing. Once you demonstrate to someone you're not afraid to walk away, they become frightened. And Vanessa was accustomed to control. She wasn't accustomed to someone reversing the script on her. Monday arrived. I signed the new job offer from Marcus's firm. Remote to begin with, relocation package included. If I chose to move, I was officially back in command of my life. But Tuesday, that's when the final thread unraveled. I received another call from Rachel. Again. Her voice was strained, as if she had been crying. "You should know. Vanessa is pregnant." I froze. "She's telling everyone it's yours." I felt my heart halt. But Thomas has been staying over at her place every night since the breakup. People are beginning to talk. My voice was subdued. Did she mention how far along? 8 weeks, supposedly, I calculated. 8 weeks ago, Vanessa was on a detox and wouldn't even allow me to touch her. Said she was purifying her body before the honeymoon. That was the last time we were intimate. 9 weeks ago. Barely. Which meant there was a genuine possibility the child wasn't mine, but she was already preparing the groundwork to entrap me, to bind me to her with something permanent, to possibly claim paternity, maybe even child support, all while I vanished from her future mortgage. And the worst aspect? I knew exactly what she would do next. I barely slept after Rachel's call. I lay there in darkness, trying to piece it all together. The timing, the motive, the real reason she ended things by message instead of face-to-face. Because that's what it was, wasn't it? A strategy, not a separation. Vanessa didn't fall out of love. She was planning her escape route and controlling the narrative before I ever had a chance to speak. And now she was claiming to be carrying my child. Except it couldn't be mine. The dates didn't align. We hadn't been intimate in weeks. By then, she'd been distant, cold, even condescending. She termed that period a pre-matrimony cleanse, said she wanted to be pure for our wedding night. I had no reason to question it. At the time, I thought she was just quirky like that. But now it was evident. She was keeping me at a distance because she already knew she'd made a mistake. Or worse, that she'd crossed a boundary she couldn't undo. And Thomas, he wasn't just a fling. He was the genuine reason. The next morning, her attorney emailed again, this time more aggressive, given the ongoing circumstances. "My client is considering legal action related to financial abandonment and emotional distress. She has also asked me to formally notify you of her pregnancy and your presumed parental responsibilities." Presumed. That word chilled me. They were trying to rush me, corner me, force me into a position where I either responded emotionally or made an error they could exploit in court. But I didn't panic. I played it intelligently. I contacted Marcus again and told him everything. The alleged pregnancy, the paternity questions, the financial threats. He told me to get ahead of it, make the first legal move. You need documentation that proves she's manipulating the situation. So I did. That day, I hired a local attorney who specialized in family and financial law. Her name was Patricia Klein, and she was sharp, cold even. But that's what I needed. She drafted a formal letter and sent it to Vanessa's attorney the next morning. It stated, in legal terms, that I denied paternity until a verified DNA test could be performed. I would not be contributing financially or emotionally until biological confirmation. Any attempts to access joint accounts or portray me as emotionally abusive would be considered defamation and met with countersuit. She even included a clause demanding full financial disclosure of Vanessa's current assets, just in case Vanessa tried to claim I owed her money from the now canceled house purchase. I wasn't pulling punches anymore. Less than 2 hours after that email went out, my phone rang again. This time, Vanessa didn't leave a voicemail. She called again and again, 6 times in one afternoon. I didn't answer, but Patricia received a call from Jennifer, her attorney, that evening. She said Vanessa was distressed and felt ambushed, that we should have handled things privately, that we were escalating a personal matter into a public one. To which Patricia replied, she made it public when she introduced legal counsel and threatened financial action. My client is simply responding. I wish I could say I felt nothing, but the truth is I felt everything. Anger, sorrow, remorse, mostly remorse. Not because we were finished, but because I ignored every warning sign leading up to this. Like how she'd refused to combine finances until the ceremony, or how she always controlled the social calendar, or how every time I brought up prenuptial agreements, she'd laugh and say, "Don't you trust me?" But the worst part, I think a part of me still wanted to believe this wasn't real, that perhaps she was frightened, that perhaps Thomas was just a mistake and she was trying to fix things. But reality has a way of striking you in the face when you're not looking. And that strike came 2 nights later from Thomas himself. It was around 10 p.m., I was home alone, watching television, when I got a message on social media from a profile I didn't recognize. No profile picture, just a first name. Thomas. The message read, "We should talk. I don't want to be part of whatever game she's playing." I stared at it for a long time. My hands were trembling. I finally typed back, "Talk." He replied, "She told me you two were already finished. She said the ceremony was called off months ago and you were just helping her get a house. Out of guilt." My blood boiled. We were engaged until the day she messaged me that it was off. That day. Not before. He went quiet for maybe 10 minutes. Then he said, "She said you struck her." I felt the floor drop from under me. What? Yeah, that's what she told me. That she was frightened of you. That you had anger issues and used to break things when you were upset. I sat there, stunned. I had never laid a hand on Vanessa, never raised my voice in any threatening way. The worst we ever had were disagreements about time. How she always put her friends first and scheduled our relationship like a business meeting. But physical violence, never. Not even close. "Do you believe that?" I asked. He took a while to respond. Then, "No, not anymore." I called Patricia the next morning and told her everything. She immediately filed a protective counterbrief, basically a preemptive legal defense in case Vanessa tried to fabricate any abuse allegations to gain sympathy in court. This was becoming darker than I ever imagined. But the final communication that came on Friday, I received an email from the mortgage lender. Not just a generic update, a personal apology. They'd been contacted again by Jennifer Davis, asking if there was any way they could proceed with the home loan without me. Vanessa had attempted to fake a revised document, claiming I had removed myself willingly with no financial expectation. The bank flagged it instantly because I hadn't signed anything. She had forged my signature. I forwarded the email to Patricia. She was silent for 10 minutes. Then she called and said, "This is fraud. We can take this to the authorities." I didn't want that. Not yet. I just wanted it to end. But part of me knew this wasn't over because Vanessa was unraveling and desperate. People don't go down quietly. The week that followed felt like a blur. Every day there was a new development, a new crisis that Vanessa and her attorney tried to create. It was exhausting, but simultaneously, it was satisfying to see how quickly she was losing control of everything. The more she tried to manipulate the situation, the more she exposed herself. I received another call from Rachel. This time, her voice was panicked. She was practically whispering as she spoke. "You won't believe this, but Vanessa, she's telling everyone she's miscarried." My stomach plummeted. What? I didn't mean to shout, but it just came out when she posted about it last night. And now everyone's sending their condolences. She's telling people she lost the baby right after the breakup. I sat there motionless, absorbing her words. The sheer audacity of it left me stunned. Was she using the miscarriage as a way to soften the betrayal, to gain sympathy and control the narrative, painting herself as the victim? Was that the move? I didn't know if she was lying or telling the truth, but I knew one thing for certain. Vanessa was losing it. She was scrambling for any way to get back into the driver's seat of this story, and now she was using a fake miscarriage as her escape. It wasn't long before Jennifer, her attorney, contacted Patricia again. This time the tone was different. Instead of acting aggressively, they tried to sound conciliatory. "We understand that things have escalated beyond what we anticipated. Vanessa is dealing with some personal issues, and we want to avoid any further conflict." Patricia didn't let them off the hook. She reminded them of Vanessa's attempt at forgery with the mortgage and told them in no uncertain terms that if Vanessa continued down this path, there would be more than just a financial dispute. "I'm not afraid to escalate this," Patricia said firmly. "We will pursue criminal charges if necessary." I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. Vanessa had pulled so many strings behind the scenes, but now the cards were on the table, and I wasn't backing down. She had no idea what was coming. That Friday, I received a call from the bank. It wasn't just about the mortgage. It was about the fraudulent documents Vanessa had submitted. They had contacted the authorities, and the matter was now under investigation. Vanessa had crossed a line, and it was no longer just about a broken engagement. It was about criminal activity. I forwarded the email and details to Patricia. She immediately arranged a meeting with the prosecutor's office. As the days passed, Vanessa's attempts to salvage her image only made things worse. Her posts on social media grew more erratic. Tearful selfies, vague messages about being misunderstood, and vague references to how some people just want to destroy everything good in their life. She transformed from the confident, entitled woman I'd once loved to a woman unraveling at the seams, desperately trying to cling to anything she could. I didn't respond. I refused to engage. It wasn't just about the money or the house anymore. It was about the fact that Vanessa thought she could control everything, even me. She thought she could humiliate me and walk away unscathed. But the truth was, I was the one who had been in control this whole time. I didn't need to stoop to her level. I didn't need to prolong the ugliness. I just had to stand firm. The phone call that changed everything came on a Wednesday. It was Vanessa's father again. But this time his tone was different. It wasn't the cold, formal tone of a parent who'd been trying to mediate. This time, he sounded like a man who had finally seen through his daughter's lies. "I need to apologize," he said. "I was wrong about everything. I should have known something was off. Vanessa, she's been lying to us all." It was difficult to even comprehend what I was hearing. I had spent years trying to earn this man's approval, trying to prove I was good enough for his daughter, only to realize now that I was just another pawn in Vanessa's game. He told me everything. How Vanessa had been sneaking around with Thomas long before our engagement had ended. How she had fabricated the pregnancy and miscarriage stories to manipulate the people around her. How she had even borrowed money from her parents to try and maintain the charade. The whole time, I had been playing the fool. "I'm sorry," he repeated. "I'll do everything I can to make things right. We'll fix this." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to rage at him for not seeing it sooner, for enabling Vanessa. But another part of me, the part that was beginning to accept the truth, knew that nothing could change the past. Nothing could erase the pain or the betrayal. But what I could do, what I was finally able to do, was walk away. Completely. I blocked her number. I deleted everything related to her from my life, from social media to old messages. I even returned a few of her possessions, the ones I knew she would miss most, and left them at her parents' house. She tried to reach out a few more times, but by then, I was so far removed from the person I had been, from the life I had built around her, that I simply didn't care anymore. And that was the hardest part of all, realizing that no matter how much I loved her once, the woman I thought she was never truly existed. She was always playing a game, and I was just one of the pieces. A year has passed since that nightmare. Vanessa's life is in disarray. As far as I know, I don't care enough to keep tabs on her anymore. As for me, I've moved forward. I'm rebuilding. I've purchased a new residence, one that's all mine. The mortgage is in my name, and for the first time in a long time, I feel liberated. But I will never forget the lesson I learned from all of this. Don't let someone else's manipulation define your existence. I was a fool, but I won't be again.